Joining us now, Congresswoman Barbara Lee, Democrat from California.
And Congresswoman Lee is one of the most important.
And Congresswoman Barbara Lee joins us now from Washington, D.C.
Joining me now, Democratic Congresswoman Barbara Lee of California, who is the congressional representative to the United Nations. Congresswoman, good morning.
The subject of the 81st installment of my 434-part series, Better Know District, tonight
from California.
Well, Chris, we have to play offense and defense. Last year, we celebrated 50 years of the war on poverty. We had Linda Johnson-Robb, and she came and talked about how Head Start, Job Corps, food stamps, Medicaid, how all of these great initiatives during her father and mother's time were still appropriate today, and they were bipartisan.
We've been talking about the proliferation of low-wage jobs in our economy, but now I want to talk about the reality of living on the minimum wage.
For speaking out, because I was on public assistance. I was on food stamps.
Right.
You know, I had to struggle through in the early 70s raising my 2 kids, and it was really hard.
Right.
And so I just have to say to you, you are absolutely correct. We need more people who are struggling, who need a bridge over troubled waters,
right,
who don't need Section 8 cut, who don't need SNAP food stamps, yes, who really need just that support from their government so that they can move forward and live the American dream.
Question, well, what if raising the minimum wage to $10.10 lost 500,000 jobs to the American economy? Because that's what the nonpartisan CBO says. I bet you the question wasn't asked that way.
Andrew, I was a small business owner before I came to Congress for 11 years, 300-plus employees. Believe you me, we not only paid a higher minimum wage, we paid a living wage. Productivity was off the scale, no turnover. You can't tell me that when companies paid decent, good wages with good benefits, they make money.
This is the worst crisis we've had. This is the most we've ever spent on unemployment. This is whether I'm going to ask my children and grandchildren to pay for unemployment this year. I think if we pay for it, I've signed on to the bill. I've signed on to Charlie Dent's bill.
That's mean. There are 3 million people living
No, what's mean is telling my grandchild. What's mean is telling my children and grandchildren to pay for that.
These 3 million people who lost their unemployment at the end of December are living, many are living in cars now. They need their unemployment. This is an emergency.
And the bill is in the House. All it says
go back to Europe.
You don't get disability plus unemployment insurance.
You don't treat people like that, Andrew.
Here's the thing.
That's not American.
There is actually a bill that has...
Sure, and this explains, I think, very clearly why we need to repeal, first of all, the Stand Your Ground laws. That's a must-do. Yep. Secondly, it also reveals the inequities in our criminal justice system that need to be looked at and closed. Thirdly, Melissa, I just have to say, and I agree with you, Michael, but, you know, every now and then you have to take a stand. You know, I would have hung that jury. I would have hung that jury. So while we don't need to blame her for not hanging it, we have to at some point realize we do have some personal responsibility in trying to ensure that justice is done.
Congresswoman Barbara Lee from California. I called her a race hustler recently after she implied that Congressman Paul Ryan was prejudiced against blacks.
So, Congresswoman, I guess the first question I have to ask is, are you a race hustler?
You know what? Race hustler, welfare queen, food stamp president, these code words are to be expected from the right wing. However, they should not be accepted.
Point. But let's listen one more time as he makes comments about young, undocumented immigrants.
For everyone who's a valedictorian, there's another 100 out there that they weigh 130 pounds and they've got calves the size of cantaloupes because they're hauling 75 pounds of marijuana across the desert.
Okay. Wow. Steve King, first of all, should apologize. But then again, that's who he is. He's done this over and over and over again. And Melissa, I think these members of Congress and others, Bill O'Reilly, they're really trying to make sure that we don't engage in a dialogue by playing the race card or by trying to...
Within hours of the attacks, White House lawyers started drafting a bill. At its core was one simple 60-word sentence authorizing the president to go after al-Qaeda anywhere, anytime, with any force he deemed appropriate.
The Congress came up with a resolution that was so open-ended, and it was presented 3 days on September 14th after the horrific, terrible attacks. And so that's not the time for members of Congress who were elected by people to make hard decisions in a national security crisis or not. Were blank checks for perpetual war, and that we need to do everything we can to avoid the use of force. It's time to repeal that authorization, Brooke. It's time to repeal the 2002 authorization. We need to come back to the drawing board. First, we need to repeal the 2001 resolution and discuss, debate, and really put forth to the public exactly what the costs and consequences are of the use of force. Those resolutions should be repealed. Other members I know, and on a bipartisan basis, I think we've said very clearly we would want to see those repealed and then engage in another debate. And so I, for one, like many members, really believe that prior to engaging in an increased use of force and in a war that has not been authorized nor declared, that the American people should have their members of Congress go on record and really engage in a debate so we know what. With the passage of this amendment, thankfully, we're one step closer to providing relief, and that's what this is about, relief and help to people suffering from medical conditions such as multiple sclerosis, glaucoma, cancer, HIV and AIDS, and other medical issues. This gives them peace of mind when it comes to accessing their medicine.
Well, I tell you, Chris, at this point, it's not about winning, but it's about embracing the debate and understanding that we need to move forward and address income inequality and the reduction and the elimination of poverty. I believe that our party, Democrats, really get it in terms of being on the side of the American people. When you look at the fact that we're trying to extend unemployment compensation right now as we speak for 1.4 million people. Who's trying to do that? It's Democrats. We can't get the Republicans, especially here in the House, to support an extension of the unemployment compensation. When you look at raising the minimum wage, for example, when you look at every issue that Senator Brown talked about, the president has been stopped.
Okay. Let me ask you one more question.
Yeah.
Congresswoman, would you like to celebrate your district with me?
Sure.
Congresswoman, thank you for talking to me today.